There's a simple beverage that billions of people around the world consume every single day. A drink so common that you probably have it in your kitchen right now. Most people reach for it in the morning to wake up, to warm their hands on a cold day, or simply because they enjoy the ritual. For decades, this drink was viewed with suspicion by health experts. People were warned not to drink too much of it. It was blamed for raising blood pressure, causing heart palpitations, and contributing to various health problems. But in one of the most remarkable reversals in nutritional science, we now know that this beverage, when consumed in moderation, doesn't just avoid causing harm. It actively protects you. Study after study, involving hundreds of thousands of people followed for decades, has shown that regular consumption of this drink is associated with the significantly reduced risk of death from all causes. We're talking about a 30% reduction in mortality risk. 30%. That's not a small effect. That's comparable to some of the most powerful preventive medications we have. Welcome to Elderly Discoveries. Today, we're talking about coffee. Yes, coffee. That humble, aromatic brew that so many of us depend on has emerged as one of the most health-protective beverages you can consume. The research is so extensive and so consistent that major health organizations, including the American Heart Association and leading longevity researchers, now recognize coffee as part of a healthy diet. But as with everything in nutrition and health, the details matter enormously. How much coffee? What kind? When? And for whom? Let's dive into the science, separate fact from fiction, and understand exactly how this everyday drink might be adding years to your life. Let me introduce you to a woman named Helen. Helen is 79 years old. She's been drinking coffee since her 20s, not because she thought it was healthy. In fact, she'd been told for years that she should probably cut back, but simply because she loved it. The morning ritual of grinding beans, the aroma, filling her kitchen, that first warm sip while reading the newspaper. It was one of life's simple pleasures she refused to give up. She'd watched food trends come and go over the decades. She'd seen butter demonized and then rehabilitated. She'd seen eggs go from dangerous to perfectly healthy. And she'd watched coffee's reputation follow a similar arc. But Helen never changed her habits. She drank 3 cups a day, every day, for over 50 years. At her most recent checkup, Helen's doctor reviewed her latest test results and shook his head with a smile. Her cardiovascular health was excellent. Her cognitive function tested at the level of someone 15 years younger. Her liver enzymes were perfect. Her risk markers for diabetes were extremely low. She had no signs of the neurodegenerative diseases that had affected some of her peers. The doctor, who happened to be familiar with the latest longevity research, made an observation. He said, "You know, Helen, that coffee you drink every day is probably one of the best things you do for your health." Helen laughed. She'd spent decades feeling slightly guilty about her coffee habit, and now she was being told it was protective. But her doctor wasn't joking. He was absolutely serious. So what does the science actually say? Let's start with the big picture. A landmark study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine followed nearly 500,000 people across 10 European countries for more than 16 years. The findings were striking. People who drank coffee regularly had a significantly lower risk of death from all causes compared to those who didn't drink coffee at all. The protective effect was seen across countries, with vastly different coffee drinking cultures and preparation methods. Whether people drank espresso in Italy, filtered coffee in Scandinavia, or instant coffee in the UK, the benefit remained consistent. Another massive study from the United States, part of the National Institutes of Health Research program, followed over 400,000 people and found similar results. Coffee drinkers had a lower risk of death from heart disease, stroke, diabetes, kidney disease, and even injuries and accidents. The optimal amount seemed to be around 3 to 4 cups per day, which is exactly what Helen had been drinking intuitively for decades. At that level of consumption, the studies showed approximately a 25 to 30% reduction in mortality risk. Even 1 to 2 cups per day showed benefit, though slightly less pronounced. Interestingly, Drinking more than 4 cups didn't seem to provide additional benefit, and in some sensitive individuals could cause problems like jitteriness or sleep disruption, but it didn't erase the protective effects either. Now, let's talk about why coffee has this effect, because understanding the mechanisms helps us appreciate just how remarkable this beverage is. Coffee is one of the richest sources of antioxidants in the modern diet. It contains hundreds of bioactive compounds, including polyphenol, particularly chlorogenic acids, that have powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. These compounds protect your cells from oxidative damage, the kind of molecular wear and tear that drives aging and chronic disease. When you drink coffee, you're essentially bathing your cells in protective molecules. Coffee has also been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism. Multiple large studies have found that coffee drinkers have a significantly reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes, one of the major drivers of premature death and disability in older adults. The compounds in coffee appear to help your body process sugar more efficiently and protect the insulin-producing cells in your pancreas. Then there's the cardiovascular benefit, and this is where the science has changed most dramatically. For years, people believed coffee raised blood pressure and increased heart attack risk. And it's true that caffeine can cause a temporary, small increase in blood pressure, particularly in people who aren't regular coffee drinkers. But the long-term epidemiological data tells a completely different story. Regular coffee consumption is associated with the reduced risk of heart failure, stroke, and coronary heart disease. The antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds in coffee appear to protect the lining of blood vessels, reduce arterial stiffness, and lower overall cardiovascular risk. The temporary blood pressure effect is vastly outweighed by the long-term protective benefits. Perhaps most exciting is coffee's effect on brain health. Study after study has found that coffee drinkers have a lower risk of developing Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and other forms of dementia. The caffeine itself appears to have neuroprotective properties, but so do many of the other compounds in coffee. They reduce brain inflammation, protect neurons from damage, and may even promote the growth of new brain cells. At Helen's age, this cognitive protection is arguably the most valuable benefit of all. Coffee also supports liver health in ways that continue to surprise researchers. Regular coffee consumption is associated with lower rates of liver disease, including fatty liver, cirrhosis, and liver cancer. It appears to reduce liver inflammation and fibrosis, helping this crucial detoxification organ function optimally even as we age. For people who occasionally drink alcohol or take medications that stress the liver, coffee's protective effect is particularly valuable. But let's address the concerns and the caveats, because while coffee is beneficial for most people, it's not universally appropriate. First, the research shows that the benefits come from black coffee or coffee with minimal additions. When you're adding multiple tablespoons of sugar, heavy cream, or flavored syrups, you're potentially negating the benefits with excess calories and sugar. A plain cup of coffee has virtually no calories and doesn't spike blood sugar. A large flavored latte with whipped cream is essentially a dessert. Second, caffeine sensitivity is real and varies tremendously between individuals. Some people metabolize caffeine slowly due to genetic variations. For these individuals, even moderate coffee consumption can cause anxiety, sleep problems, or heart palpitations. If coffee makes you feel jittery, anxious, or keeps you awake at night, the stress and sleep disruption could outweigh the benefits. Listen to your body. Third, timing matters. Drinking coffee late in the day can interfere with sleep for many people, and good sleep is absolutely crucial for healthy aging. Most experts recommend cutting off caffeine consumption by early afternoon to protect nighttime sleep quality. Helen, for instance, has her 3 cups between 7 a.m. and noon, never later. Fourth, certain medical conditions require caution with coffee. People with uncontrolled high blood pressure, certain heart rhythm problems, severe anxiety disorders, or gastroesophageal reflux disease may need to limit or avoid coffee. and pregnant women are advised to limit caffeine intake. This is a conversation to have with your doctor, particularly if you have existing health conditions. Fifth, the quality and preparation method can matter. Unfiltered coffee, such as French press or Turkish coffee, contains compounds called diterpenes that can raise LDL cholesterol in some people. Filtered coffee removes these compounds. Also, very high-temperature coffee, consumed repeatedly over years, has been associated with increased esophageal cancer risk in some populations. Let your coffee cool slightly before drinking. So what's the practical takeaway? If you currently enjoy coffee and it doesn't cause you problems, the evidence strongly suggests you should continue, and you can do so without guilt. In fact, you can feel good knowing that this daily pleasure is also a health protective habit. If you're not currently a coffee drinker, should you start just for the health benefits? That's a personal decision. The benefits are real, but they're not so dramatic that you must start drinking coffee if you don't enjoy it. There are other ways to get antioxidants and protective compounds. But if you've been avoiding coffee because you thought it was unhealthy, the science says you can reconsider that position. If you're going to drink coffee for health, here's how to do it right. Choose high-quality coffee beans. Organic is preferable to avoid pesticide residues. Use filtered brewing methods like drip coffee or pour over to remove diterpenes. Drink it black, or if you must add something, use a small amount of milk or a plant-based alternative and avoid sugar. Aim for 3 to 4 cups per day, but even 1 or 2 provides benefit. Consume it in the morning or early afternoon to protect your sleep, and pay attention to how you feel. If coffee causes problems for you personally, the population-level benefits don't override your individual response. Helen didn't know 50 years ago that her daily coffee ritual would become one of her most health-protective habits. She just knew it brought her joy, comfort, and a sense of routine that anchored her days. But now, as she approaches 80 with her health intact, her mind sharp, and her energy remarkable for her age, she represents what the research has been telling us, that this simple, accessible, affordable beverage that humans have been enjoying for centuries is also one of the most potent longevity drinks we have. The story of coffee is a reminder that pleasure and health don't have to be opposed. Sometimes, the things that bring us daily joy, the rituals that comfort us, the simple pleasures we allow ourselves, are also the things that protect us and extend our lives. Not every healthy habit has to feel like deprivation or discipline. Some of them can taste delicious, smell wonderful, and warm you from the inside out on a cold morning. So tomorrow, when you reach for that cup of coffee, when you breathe in that familiar aroma and take that first sip, know that you're not just waking yourself up or indulging in a small pleasure. You're engaging in an evidence-based longevity practice, one that billions of people around the world share with you, one that science has validated, and one that might just be adding precious years to your life. Thank you for joining us on Elderly Discoveries. Here's to good health, long life, and the simple joy of a perfectly brewed cup of coffee.